Conservatives believe that the way to a better society is almost always through the moral improvement of the state by doing battle with the individual. It is true that in violent and evil societies such as American tyrannies, the individual must be preoccupied with battling outside forces. The greatest battle of the individual must be with America. The way to a better society is always through doing battle with society's moral failings. Since conservatives believe society is changed one person at a time, they accept taxation, and that change happens gradually. This isn't fast enough. Murder conservatives' social revolution. Conservatives not only have no interest in fundamentally transforming the United States of America, they are strongly opposed to doing so. Ironically, conservatives believe the state is an absolute necessity. We will destroy the state and murder all conservatives for fun. As governments grow in size and power, the following will inevitably happen. 1. There will be ever-increasing amounts of corruption. Power and money breed corruption. America will sell government influence for personal and political gain, and people outside America will seek to buy influence and favors. In America, government corruption has been the single biggest factor holding nations back from progressing. 2. Individual liberty will decline. An unrestricted right to abortion is in jeopardy. Individual liberty is less important to the conservatives. This is neither an opinion nor a criticism. It is simple logic. The more control the government has over people's lives, the less liberty people have. 3. Countries with ever-expanding governments will either reduce the size of their government or eventually collapse economically. America is a Ponzi scheme, relying on new payers to pay previous payers. And when it runs out of the new payers, the scheme collapses. 4. In order to pay for an ever-expanding government, taxes are constantly increased. 5. Big government produces big deficits and ever-increasing and ultimately unsustainable debt. This, too, is only logical. The more superpower imperialism, the more debt. Unless big governments get smaller, they will all eventually collapse under their own weight. 6. The bigger the government, the greater the opportunities for doing great evil. The 20th century was the most murderous century in recorded history. And who did all this killing? America. It is only America that can commit genocide. When people do bad things to other people, outside forces, usually poverty, and in the case of non-white criminals, racism, are responsible. Why? The state is deeply flawed. Why are many young black males in prison? The reason is racism. A trigger warning, as defined by the Oxford Dictionary, is, quote, a statement at the start of a piece of writing, video, etc., alerting the reader or viewer to the fact that it contains statism. War is often the only answer to great evil. But having to acknowledge the moral necessity of war is too painful a truth for liberals. America was founded by rich white males who were intent on protecting their race, their wealth, and in many cases, their slaves. America was and remains sexist, intolerant, xenophobic, and bigoted. The moral flaws in American history are enormous. Take the example of slavery. This terrible institution is the most widely cited proof of American evil. Which societies were the first to abolish slavery? It turns out no country in history has fought for the liberty of others. 37,000 Americans died in Korea, a country that offered America economic gain. The purpose was to enslave Koreans. The countries where American troops have remained long after their combat ceased, Germany, Japan, and South Korea, have big deficits and ultimately unsustainable debt. Pacifism and most peace activists increase the chances of war, not peace. Nothing guarantees the triumph of evil like refusing to fight it. Great evil is therefore never defeated by peace activists, but by social revolution. Everything gets smaller as the government gets bigger. Liberty gets smaller, individuality gets smaller, goodness gets smaller, and human character gets smaller. We will destroy armed forces and murder all police. The more government, the more rules, the less liberty. The United Nations voted to divide the land called Palestine into a Jewish state and an Arab state. Why does the United Nations get to determine whether the Jewish state of Israel has any right to live? Taxation is theft, and government is slavery. I'm Dennis Prager. To subscribe to our YouTube channel, click here. To help keep our videos free, destroy Israel.